All right, so today we're working on the 96 Honda Prelude. We just got done with the front brakes on it. Watch that video if you need that information. Here we are on the back brakes now. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the your caliper. And what you're gonna do here is you're gonna take off this top bolt that's a 12, and then there'll be another one down here which is also a 12. But before you can do that, you have to take off this plastic cover. And this is a 10, and then there's another one way down on the back side up underneath here. It's kind of hard to, I don't know if I can get it, but anyways, you have to take that off, this one and that one, pull this cover off. Okay, so here's the plastic cover, and if you look, there's a bolt here and a bolt up on top. So once that's off, you can go ahead and take off your top bolt here, which is a 12, and then there's a bottom bolt down here, which is a 12 also. Okay, now that we removed the two bolts, the one the top and bottom, we can just go ahead and grab your caliper and just wiggle it back and forth and pull it off here. All right, so you've got your top one here, which runs in. This is for your brakes. And then the lower one here is your emergency brake. So that's why you have two lines running in there. Right now, you can go ahead and just pull off your pads, take them out. These are not too bad, but this car has been sitting for about 7 years. I do not trust it. A pair of vice grips on the rotor, because you're replacing it anyways. To get out your set screws, there's one here and there's one right here. So go ahead at this time and remove them. And now if they're super stuck in there, you can use like an impact screwdriver to break them free. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we have to break the top bolts free. They're right up here. So they're up underneath, right in there. There's one there, one right here. And then we'll take off the caliper mounting bracket. All right, when you get the two bolts free, go ahead and just remove your bracket. And these are your caliper slide pins. All right, so now we can go ahead and remove your rotor. All right, before installation, you want to go through and make sure that everything matches up. And once you're satisfied with that, let's go ahead and install your new rotor.
So they have like a...
All right, so now what you're gonna do is just put in your set screws just to hold your rotor up in place, and then we'll start working on your calipers. All right, so when you're pushing in your piston, this actually has to be pushed in and turned at the same time. So what you need is a tool like this. You should be able to rent it from your local auto parts store, and that is basically what it looks like right there. And then I'll show you how to use it in just a sec. So what you want to do is you want to open up your bleeder screw. That's a 10 millimeter, and just open it up so when you start putting pressure on it, it'll relieve all the fluid that's inside, so this can actually go back. All right, so if you can see that, there's basically like a cross on there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize this tool here. And we're actually going to use these 4 prongs, and they'll fit right inside there. That way, as it's pushing in, it turns at the same time. And nice thing is this is magnetic. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run this in. And again, what you're doing is, you're just taking and you're popping this on, slide it in place, and then what it does, it slides here, just like so. And then what you do is you line it up, just like that. Again, your petcock's open, and then you want to pull pressure back on it, just like that. Let me show you. So it's going to look like that. So now as you tighten, and it'll push it in and compress it at the same time. It'll turn it. So, and also watch out because you have your petcock open, so as you're pushing in, it will leak out. So you want to be aware of that. Okay. And then we're just going to keep on turning it until it is completely flush. Okay, there we go. All right, so next on to the slide pins. Now you do not need to remove your slide pins out of your bracket here. You can just keep them in. What you're gonna do though, is you're gonna just pull it out a little ways like this. And then what we'll do is apply a little bit of grease on there. And what you wanna use dielectric grease, because any other grease is gonna dry out on here. So dielectric grease actually will stay pliable. And you don't need a whole bunch on there, just lightly coat it and you'll be good. All right, so now that we're done with our slide pins, let's go ahead and install the guides here. Now there's two different styles that you'll get in your kit, and one actually is taller and then one shorter. Now for this particular one, you want the shorter ones right here, and they have a little tab right there on the top. So then what you do is you flip it around so it's a 90 degree. Will fit right down here like this, and then it just pops right into place like that. All right, so when you're installing these, what you're gonna do is one side, when you pop them out, there's two on each caliper bracket, and the one is going to have the tabs that fold inward here in the middle, and then you're gonna have this other one that has the tab off the top. Be aware of that and get them in the right spot. All right, so now that we're done with that, so that basically is what it's gonna look like before you install it. Let's go ahead and put this back in. All right, so now that you got your bracket in place, let's go ahead and we'll torque these down, because it's a lot easier to torque them down right now than it is after the caliper is in place. All right, so these back bracket bolts are going to be 28 foot-pounds. All right, so I'm using Brembo product, which is really good, and these are the Brembo brakes. And they should come as a pack with the back and the front. Yeah, Brembo is just top quality right here. I'll tell you, I love it. So this one's going to be your front one. So this one is going to face outward, and the one with the wear indicator, this is your back right here. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna install it. You do not want to put any grease of any kind on here, because it will not stop if you do that. And so you just want to stick it in here and just pop it in place. So just slide it down until it looks like this. All right, so here's what it's gonna look like. Just like this.
Oh yeah. I did that and
All right, so one last thing that you need to do. Now there's several of these brackets here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna replace this one right inside of here. And they give you smaller ones and larger ones. And it's the larger of the two that you're gonna be using. So go ahead and pop this out. All right, so that's what it's gonna look like right there when you get it out. And this is the new one that's gonna be going in. All right, so this bracket here, what it will do once it's installed is it puts pressure down on the top of your brake pads. All right, so the easiest way to install this, what you're gonna do is just slide it in to one side, put your screwdriver behind this tab, and as you put it behind the tab, what you're doing is you just put a little pressure, push it down on it, and as you're pushing down on it, it'll just pop right into place. All right, so now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and install the caliper over top of your brake pads and get it mounted back up. You want to make sure that your slides are all the way in, and they also want to be, there's a flat side to it, so you want the flat side basically parallel to the car, and that way when you put it on, hold your brake pads in place, and then what we're going to do is just slide it down, lock it in place right there. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put our bolts in the back, and we'll get this all seated down. All right, so also too, you got to remember that if you have a little resistance, it's because of this bracket right here. You know, it's got some flex to it, and so you kind of have to push down on it while you're lining up your bolts in the back for your slide pins. All right, so the caliper mounting bolts, you want to torque those to 17 foot-pounds. All right, so here is what it's going to look like when it's all done and completed. Okay, and so what you're going to do is keep this plastic guard off until you get done bleeding your brakes. That'll be our next thing, but I'm gonna go over and jump on the other side, finish that up, and then I'll show you how to bleed your brakes. All right, so now that we're ready to bleed the brakes on the back, your bleeder screw is right here. And so what we're going to do is, if you have a clear line that you can put on there, I currently do not have one, but I'm just gonna use a black rubber line and just pop it over the top of this. Now, if you do not have that, I would lay a bunch of cardboard down, rags or whatever, because once you open this up, it is just gonna shoot brake fluid all over the place. So get your floor protected, and then let's get underway. All right, so basically it's gonna look like this, where you're gonna have your box end on your bleeder screw. You're gonna put a line over the top of that. Normally go with clear because then you can see the air escaping, and then it just runs all the way down. I kind of had to do a makeshift, this is kind of hokey, but I had to do kind of a makeshift drainage tube. But anyways, it's better than getting it all over the place. So what we're gonna do is get a secondary person because they have to pump the brakes. All right, so the only other thing is if you have a vacuum pump, you could do it yourself. However, I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. So what we're doing is we're having somebody pump the brakes while we man the bleeder screw. And also the other thing that you really want to do is you want to make sure that you do not run low on your reservoir for your brake fluid. All right, so here we go. All right, pump. Okay, hold it. Okay, and so what you're doing is you're having them pump and like 3-4 times, and then you just tell them to hold it, and what they'll do is they'll push the brake pedal to the floor as hard as they can, and then what you're doing is you're releasing the air. Once you're done with that, then you close off your bleeder screw, and then you tell them to release so they can release the pedal. And then just do it several times, sometimes 5-6 times, but you want to make sure that all that air is out of the system. And once you are good with that, then what you can do is just close the bleeder screw, make sure it's good and snug, good and tight, whatever you want. Don't over tighten it. I've seen these things break quite easy. And then you're done with this side. Then you can move to the other side. All right, so the last thing that you need to do is just top off your brake fluid, put your cap back on, and you're good to go. Go ahead and take it for a spin.